Welcome to video 5 of chapter 15. This will be our final video, and it's only this one slide, so it'll be a little bit shorter, but I did want to expand upon what's here. And we're going to talk about resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity or to thrive despite negative life circumstances. And I wanted to talk about the study mentioned in your book, published in 1992 by Emmy Werner. Emmy is her first name, Emmy Werner, Werner. So anyways, she conducted this very important study on resilience, and it really helped to make it more of an important topic in psychology. And what she did was she followed 700 children on the island of Kauai. In case you're like me and can't spell it, I'll spell it for you. Kauai, the island of Kauai. Okay. Anyway, she followed 700 children all the way from birth until their 30s. So this is a longitudinal study. So following kids from the time they're born up until their 30s in adulthood. What Emmy and her colleagues did was they identified which children were at high risk, right from the start of life. And one third of the sample was considered to be at high risk due to their life circumstances. So this included things like having a difficult birth, growing up in poverty, certainly high risk factor, having alcoholic or mentally ill parents, going through parental divorce or discord between the parents. Anyway, so there was a number of factors that were considered to group the children in. And so about a third of the initial sample were considered high risk. And then what she found was that out of this high risk group, about a third of them, they had good outcomes by the time they had become adults, despite the fact that they had, many risk factors in their childhood. So these were like the high risk children that were identified, and one third of them managed to show good outcomes in adulthood. So this really, this demonstrated the concept of resilience. Even though they had really, negative life circumstances in their childhood, they overcame them and were able to be successful and have, positive outcomes in life. So considered a very important study that demonstrated resiliency. And so, then other researchers started studying, well, what was special about those children and what makes, one child resilient and another not. And one of the researchers that's studied this is Anne Maston. And she says that, factors that promote resiliency are factors that result from human adaptational systems. Meaning, like, humans have certain adaptational systems that allow them to adapt to new environments. I mean, and this is because, throughout evolution, humans have had to adapt to new environments. We at one point we lived in caves, and another point we lived in forests, and then we moved out to the savannas, and because when food ran scarce, humans had to travel and find new areas, and then they would run across new peoples, and so like humans developed adaptational systems to allow them to adapt to new circumstances and new environments. And so it's those types of skills that allow you to adapt that makes a child resilient, because they have to adapt to their negative circumstances. It's Anne Maston that talks about this concept of ordinary magic that's shown on the screen here. And this concept suggests that resilience often comes from everyday factors. So it's not like some special. This person was resilient because they had a guardian angel or something, but it comes from things like characteristics within the individual child. So, like, I'll talk about that first. So, if a child has good cognitive and self-regulation skills, then they're more adaptive. And by cognitive skills, like one of the things certainly is intelligence has been associated with resiliency, and self-regulation skills are important. If you know how to, control your own emotions, control your own behaviors, you do better in difficult or chaotic situations. Positive views of the self, so like having higher self-esteem, can help carry a child through difficult times, and a motivation to be effective in the environment. So if a child has more motivation, I'm going to overcome. In this particular environment that I'm in, I'm going to I'm going to still be effective. I'm still going to do well in school, for instance, even though I've got these disadvantages. So cognitive skills, self-regulation skills, self-esteem, or a positive view of the self, as well as motivation. I mean, all these contribute. So these are within the individual child. These are things that help them. The other things, the last part here is characteristics, within their families or their communities. And here I wanted to mention, if children are much more likely to be resilient if they have a connection to a competent and caring adult. And remember, I talked about natural mentors earlier in this chapter, and that would certainly fit here. That often the children that end up being resilient, they have a natural mentor, like they've connected to somebody that has really kind of helped them, just help them emotionally, or in some cases with various types of support. And it might be a grandmother, so somebody within the family could be an aunt or an uncle or grandmother, or maybe one of the parents, even so, or a sibling, older sibling or something. Okay, and or it could be within their community, a teacher that took an interest in them, or a coach or something or somebody that gave them music lessons, spent extra time with them, and so this is kind of it's a combination of these factors, and these are, like, once again, ordinary magic. It's like everyday things, like just certain characteristics within the child, and finding a supportive and caring adult in the family system or in the community. And this is what makes somebody resilient. Okay, and that's going to conclude chapter 15 and conclude our look at the textbook. Thank you for your patience, for those of you that are still listening and watching these videos.